Everything all right up there? You got storms coming?
It rained today. But it was in the 60s today and yesterday.
Oh wow.
Yeah. But we were shoveling snow. The last like a week or two ago. So.
Right.
So how long you been down in Florida now?
We got down the 11th of January.
Oh wow! So you don't waste any time. So like right after the New Year.
Yeah.
It's funny
because it's been cold. It's been rainy and windy.
Okay, wait, hold on.
This week.
Hold on. What's Florida cold?
Yeah, I know.
Right?
Everybody says don't say that, but people that live down here, they know. Like if it's 60 degrees here, which seems balmy, if there's a 15 to 20 mile an hour wind, which there often is, it's cold. Especially when you walk out of my building off the beach and it's in between two. We walk out in between two buildings, ours and the one next door. And it's like a wind tunnel coming through there. Oh, I'm telling you, Jason, it's cold, but it's not 30. I understand that.
It's all relative, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, hold on. I just caught a glimpse of that T-shirt. Is that you and Scott?
What is it?
Oh, do I see T-Mac there too?
T-Mac, Scott, me. Except Franzen, JJ.
Oh, so that's going back. You got Kevin Franzen, you got Jim Jackson on there? Wow.
Yeah. Yeah, this is an oldie.
Very cool. Last time I talked to Scott, when I had my old TV show, when I had Scott on the air, he had a shirt that said "Weekend at Larry's," and it was when you were just doing weekend home games.
Yes.
The shirt said "Weekend at Larry's."
Yes, right. I wore that one for a while. Not literally wore it, the shirt. I wore it from him.
Got it. For everybody watching and listening, thank you very much. It's episode 9 of the Philly Sports Convo. My guest, this guy needs no introduction. Longtime Phillies broadcaster, former Phillies player, the great Larry Andersen, L.A. It is truly great to see you. It's been way too long, and I appreciate you doing this.
It's been a while since we've been together, Jason. It's about time.
It's about time, yes. I so appreciate it because, I love talking to you, and there's so much I want to get to, but, looking into a brand new Phillies season, when you go to spring training, you've been there since early January, or I guess mid-January. When does the excitement start in your mind? When do you start getting excited for the new baseball season?
Probably with about 10 days left in spring training. I mean, I'm excited for it to start. No question. I know the guys are itching to get after it after the way the season ended last year, but it's kind of going through the routine right now for me. And when I was playing, when I was coaching, when I was just broadcasting, it's all kind of the same. It's because there's, especially the early part of spring training, it's so hard to gauge what's going on because guys are just facing hitters for the first time. Hitters are facing pitchers, live pitching for the first time, for the most part. I mean, regular major league pitchers. There's so many bullpen situations, starting pitching, that type of thing, bench players. Like this is pretty much a set team almost. There's a few spots, but not many. And so it's early on, you see a lot of the young players getting a chance, or maybe guys they brought in as free agents, or some guys are kind of on the bubble, and they do take a lot of time early finding out what these guys have and what their possibility of them doing for the ball club down the road. But the last 10 days, you have pretty much your lineup out there, going out there most every day,
right?
And you get to see what things are. You get excited about what's going on. I'm excited about this ball club. I'm sure we'll talk all about it, but they have the tools to go down in my mind. But having said that, they have to stay healthy because for me, there's just not a lot of depth.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And one of the new guys they brought in, I'm pretty excited about. What are your thoughts on Whit Merrifield? I mean, the guy, he can pretty much play anywhere on the field, and you don't really find that too often these days in baseball. A guy who is, kind of a Swiss Army knife, so to speak.
Yeah, and the one thing about the versatility is huge. You have that. But as Rob Thompson said, we had a meeting with Dave Dombrowski and Sam Fold and Rob Thompson last week. And one of the things Topper said about him was he's a baseball player.
Yeah.
And it's that, and we talked about it, I believe it was today on during the game, but it's an honor. It's a great compliment for to hear a manager that's been around the game as long as Topper has, and to hear him say this guy's a ball player. In other words, he's a gamer. He knows how to play the game. And the fact that he had a chance, there was talk that he probably had some opportunities to go to maybe a couple other teams and play every day. He talked a lot to what was it? Somebody that's close with Christian Walker with the Diamondbacks, who a local guy, and he talked about the thrill of playing in Philadelphia in the playoffs and what it was like. And for Merrifield to say, I want to go there and be a bench player, a utility player, even though I could play as an everyday player somewhere else, I want to go there. I want to experience that playoff atmosphere, and that's exactly, what he wanted to come here for, which. To me, it speaks volumes about him. The fact that he'll come here and be on the bench just for a chance to get in the playoffs and to be in Philadelphia for the playoffs.
That is very cool. And isn't it funny, LA? And you've been around Philadelphia for a long time now, and the fans get a bad rap. But in the last couple of years, it's kind of done a total 180. People talk about the atmosphere at the bank in the playoffs, and people talk about Phillies fans in a positive light, and it's about damn time,
Yeah. Oh, no doubt. What was the situation? Was it last year before? Something happened with fans. I was like, I hope, was it Atlanta where they were throwing stuff on the field or something? I said, I hope they show this all over national TV.
Yep.
And then I want to sit back and wait and see if maybe somebody that's talking about it makes a mistake and says, oh, this is Philadelphia. Oh, wait, no, that's not Philadelphia. I don't want to hear that anymore. They do get a bad rap, and it's unfounded. They're just passionate, and when you get fans like that, there's nothing better.
Yeah, I had Larry Boa on my last podcast, and I asked him about the fans, and he said that the fans kind of motivated him, and that and you hear this from a lot of players that he loves East Coast baseball, Philly, New York, Boston. He actually included Chicago in that too. The fans are just different in a good way.
Yeah, and it's. For me, when I got released from here, I went to Houston, 5 years in Houston, go to Boston for the month, and then signed as a free agent because of collusion. I signed with San Diego. So I was in San Diego in 91 and 92. And I was, I'm from the West Coast, the Northwest. It's still part of the West Coast, but a lot of people don't realize it is part of the West Coast because they just think of California.
Right.
But it's, I don't know what the name or what they called people like Southern California. They were plastic, they were fake, they were this, and I honestly I kind of felt that. I felt like it was a matter of how much do you make, where do you live, what kind of car do you drive, things like that. That people in Philly don't really care about that. They just care about their team winning.
Yep.
And I was so excited to get out of San Diego and come back to Philly. And I swear, I was like, I felt like Philly was my home. And I left there, like I felt like I was a military guy, moving all around the world. But I wanted to get back to where I'm from. And even though I'm not from Philly, but that's where I feel like I'm from.
Right. Well, how many different teams did you play for? Because you did move around a lot, right?
I think it's 6 different teams, but Phillies twice, or either 7 different teams and Phillies twice. But
well, you came back to Philly just in time, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Getting back here in '93 was. I can't say enough about that year and that team and the way it was with the fans. It was phenomenal.
I talked with Boa about that team last time around as well, and just
Are you talking about hole-in-one Boa?
Yeah. Well, it's funny you mention that. Okay, now, LA, are you a golfer?
I got fitted for clubs today, and I found out that it's not the clubs. So
well,
I'm looking for.
I will tell you this, okay? Now, Boa was on my podcast, and then a few days later, he got a hole-in-one. So I'm not saying there's a connection there, but maybe there is.
Don't put that on me. just do me a favor. Just be thankful if I hit the green.
There you go.
Okay.
Hey, listen, Larry, you're talking to a guy who can't hit it past the windmill. So anything you do is probably better than what I could do on the golf course. Let me ask you this about '93. And look, it was a great year, but of course, everybody's going to remember how it ended for like as long as we live. Yeah. Are you able to watch video of the Joe Carter home run? Because anytime, like MLB Network will have like a countdown show of the best postseason home runs. When it gets to that, I got to turn the TV off. I still can't watch it.
It's tough to watch, but it's a lesson. It's I don't like to revisit it a lot, but when you talk about the '93 team, obviously that's going to come into play.
Yeah,
and I just it was tough. I felt so bad. Stood up there, he took it, he wore it, but for me, like I put him in that position. I was the one that was in there the inning before. I hit Fernandez, I walked Sprague, ended up with the bases loaded, and I got a pop out to get out of the inning. And I felt like I didn't do my job, and I put Mitch in the worst position that he could possibly be in to start at the top of the order. I could have made it much easier if he's facing the bottom two of the order and then the top of the order. I mean, that's a bitter spot for me also.
Well, I mean, listen, I think we all have moments like that, but listen, like you said, it was a great year overall, and I do admire how Mitch handled all that, and Bo and I talked about that too. I mean, like you said, he owned it, and proof positive is shortly thereafter, not only did the fans, I mean, I don't want to use the word forgive because it's not like he did anything wrong, but not only did the fans forgive him, but he had a career in the media covering the Phillies. Yeah. He was on radio and TV analyzing and covering the Phillies, and I don't know too many other cities that would have happened in.
Right. And I think that the fans here are, if Mitch was to say, hey, we didn't score enough runs, we could have scored more, and LA didn't do his job in front of me, and this is, guys can say all kinds of things, and that's a problem. But when you stand up in Philadelphia and when you own it, the fans have a way to pick you back up, to embrace you. Hey, we're not going to hold you down forever for that. It was tough, it hurt us, but we love the fact that you stood up and owned it. And I think that's so important, especially in a town like Philly. The East Coast baseball, you have to stand up, you have to own it. And when things don't go your way, you just do.
All right, I got a lot of questions about the team going into this season. And I'm sure this is something you probably talked about a million times, but we'll make it 1,000,001. Who should bat leadoff on this team, LA?
Whew.
Can I give you my take on this?
Yes.
Because, listen, I know Kyle Schwarber gets on base, and this is no disrespect to Kyle Schwarber, but I want to see Bryson Stott lead off. I want to see Schwarber like fifth or sixth in the lineup. I mean, Schwarber does get on base, but he's not exactly a speedster on the base pass.
No.
So, and we saw this in the final two games of the NLCS last year. If the offense goes stagnant, they're not able to play small ball. You know what I mean? They're not able to steal. They can't go from first to third. You can't score from first on a double, that type of thing. So I'd like to see more speed at the top of the lineup. No disrespect to Kyle Schwarber.
No, I do too. But you said Stott. I would have said Stott because if you go, to me, you want to start with if Thompson wants Harper hitting third. So if you put a left-hander, if you have him hitting third, to me, you have a right-hander in front of him, a right-hander behind him, and you can go right, left, all the way down the lineup.
Yeah.
And which makes it a little tougher for the opposing pitcher when the pitcher comes in and has to face three guys. So, and I would love to see the speed at the top. But I said last year after we lost, I said it shows that this team is this team can slug with anybody. They can also strike out with anybody, but they can't hit with everybody.
Right.
And there's a big difference. And I think the slug came to a grinding halt those last couple games, and there just was no offense. There wasn't anybody to make contact, to put the bat on the ball. The team's out a lot. I still love watching them. It's still a fun team, and I think they've got a lot of damage they can do. But I think with the young guys, with Stott getting more experience, Bohm getting more experience, Marsh, the younger guys, these guys should be able to hit. The other guys can probably slug more.
Right.
But I think, you get JT and Harper, they can hit. I mean, there's no question. So it's really, to me, more the guys that slugger, the Schwarber types, the Casties. And so, I mean, but it's still certainly a team that can go all the way.
So when you combine everything you just said, and I agree with everything you just said, that combined with the fact of how disappointing last season ended, they're going to come into this season with a chip on their shoulder. I mean, how much does that come into play? The fact that there's kind of, I hate to use the cliche of unfinished business, but there is kind of unfinished business.
Yeah, part of the unfinished business is getting fans back excited about some sports team in Philly, because they were so disappointed the way our season ended.
Okay.
Everybody's excited. Well, at least we got the Eagles. That didn't work out, but the Eagles should be good. And they go off at 10-1.
Yeah.
They weren't a 10-1 team, but they were 10-1.
Right.
And then
on paper only.
I mean, it's like bitter taste after bitter taste. And I think that's why I think there's a lot of optimism for this club to pick things up for the fans. I really do. I think the fans say, hey, we're back to you guys now. You guys didn't get it done last year. Now you owe us. You owe us this to get us a little deeper in the playoffs and possibly the World Series.
Yeah, it's funny because typically for a lot of years of Phillies baseball, and look, the Phillies had a lot of good years, but as you know, they had a lot of lean years as well. It was always, all right, by June or July, okay, we're looking toward Eagles training camp. We're looking toward preseason. When's football? But now it's the other way around. You know, now it's like, all right, we need spring training to get that bitter taste of the Eagles out of our mouths, and it's kind of refreshing. I mean, the Phillies have been unbelievable the last couple of years. I do want to ask you, I mean, we talk about some of the issues of last season and the bullpen. Who's your closer on this team? I mean, there's so many candidates for it. But Alvarado and Dominguez, I mean, they were kind of shaky at times. I mean, they've got the stuff. What's your take on that? If you're the manager, who's the closer?
Oh, I think you start off with right now who's got the best hand, who's going best at the time. I don't think, at least at this point, I don't think Thompson can name a closer, just because of some inconsistencies. But if Dominguez can throw like he threw today and his last time out, I mean, he looks good to me. Alvarado he just got filthy stuff.
Yeah,
and the guy that. Yeah,
I agree. Filthy is the perfect word for it. He unbelievable stuff. And
he can. I think for me watching him, he can be his own worst enemy. He can get down on himself, get a little frustrated, and maybe sometimes have a tendency to not think about, let's locate a pitch. Let's just reach back and throw as hard as I can, and I'm not really sure where it's going. That just doesn't work to me out of the closer's role.
Right.
But the one guy that to me, if he pitches like he did last year, could get a lot of save opportunities, I think, is Jeff Hoffman. I think he was he's right now at two games in. He doesn't have everything together yet. Right. But he's got the stuff and he's got the attitude. He showed some cockiness last year, which I love. I don't like to see openly guys talking about, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that.
Right.
But he had that little fire in him, and you see him chirp a little bit at the other hitters every now and then. I love that. And the way he went out there, he just attacked and he believed in himself. And if he can, I think he's got a chance to close a lot of games himself.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, you're right. There is a fine line between confidence and arrogance, and I don't think he crossed that line. You could tell he was confident. I think Matt Strom's got good stuff, too. I mean, there's a lot of good arms in that pen. If they could all get it together, I mean, they've got the team. They've got all the tools. They've got the lineup. They've got the pitching. If I were to ask you to look into your LA crystal ball, how do you see this season ending up? Knowing that Atlanta also has a chip on their shoulder because the Phillies took them out of the postseason 2 years in a row.
Yeah. It's, I mean, there's no telling. I think one of the big question marks for Atlanta is Sale healthy, and if he is and gets back to the way he used to be, it's going to be a tough one to get over.
Yeah,
I really believe that. And their offense is their offense. They're just they're solid there, top to bottom. They can do a lot of things to beat you. And I agree. I think they have a chip on their shoulder. I mean, Strider has handled us in the regular season.
Yep.
It's just the postseason we've gotten to him. We got to be able to beat him and guys like him in the regular season. And if that doesn't happen, looks like it could be another wild card playoff situation for the Phils. But at this point, you don't know anything till you face each other. And I think, going in and facing Atlanta, and having a chance to say right out of the chute,
right off the bat, yeah,
we're coming to play. We're coming to play, and we're not. You're gonna have to deal with us like it's the playoffs. And I think we have to have that mentality going into the series against Atlanta.
Well, no matter what happens, we know it's going to be a fun season to watch. It's going to be a fun season to listen to with Franzke in L.A. And I love talking to you about your partnership with Scott Franzke because actually, you know what? Can you see in the background there? And my apologies to people listening and not watching. It's the Franzke. Well, hold on. I can get it. The Franzke in L.A. bobblehead. And I have it. I have it right next to my Harry and Whitey bobblehead too, because I've told you both. To me, you're Harry and Whitey 2.0. You guys, even when Phillies baseball isn't fun to watch, you guys make it entertaining. I don't know how you do it, but you manage to do it. How do you do it? I mean, how is this partnership? I mean, because LA is, you can't fake chemistry. You can fake being civil to one another, but you can't fake chemistry on the air. You guys have it.
I think it started when he came to Philly. I got to know him, and we became friends. And I think it starts right there. It's tough to have that chemistry, the camaraderie with one other person, like working the radio like that, if you're not friends with each other. And it's got to the point where I love his family with Lori and the kids. They're just great, and they've treated us so well. And I think it started there. And now when you get into games and, he gets to know me, I get to know him. He can push my buttons. I don't know if I can push his buttons. He's so good.
He's really good.
But he really, I'm telling you, I don't say it because he might hear it or because I work with him, but he, to me, he's one of the top 3 best baseball broadcasters in the country. I truly mean that. He just, everything he does, he's on spot on with stats, with players' stories, with open up a game after some tragedy and being able to just so preciously speak to those events.
Yeah.
It just touches people, and he's got that. And I think that's a big thing is that we work together. He knows, and as far as the game goes, if the game's close and if it's a tight game, that takes care of itself. Well, that's all we have to talk about. We don't have to do anything else. And if it's a blowout, then I can stupidity and do that type of thing. And because like Scott said from the get-go, he said we're here to entertain people. Win or lose, we're here to entertain the listeners.
I love that.
And that's what he wants to do. And again, let's not get, like he'll say, let's not let it get in the way of the game. But if it's a blowout, then so be it. We're going to have a little fun. Hopefully it's a blowout on our side.
Right.
We don't have a lot of those, but you hope it is. And otherwise the game takes care of itself. And it's just been to me, just a wonderful relationship. and a companionship for the games.
Yeah, I mean, you guys, like I said, Harry and Whitey 2.0, which is the highest compliment I can give the two of you, because I grew up with Harry and Whitey, and I'm a guy who, I don't want to be overly dramatic about it, but I grew up idolizing Harry Kalas, and he's one of the reasons I wanted to get into broadcasting. So, and I put you two up on that level with the two of them. I mean, you look at some of Scott's calls, the Rollins walk-off against Broxton was at, I guess, 08. Is it 08 or 09? I always get that mixed up. It's 08, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 08. And then, the Bedlam at the bank. And I remember asking Scott, I had him on my old TV show. I'm like, where did that come from? He's like, it's just what popped into my head. But it was perfect. It was perfect. I mean, they made T-shirts out of it.
He can, and that's the thing. He can do that, and he can just make an absolute tremendous statement about a whole huge event. He can make one statement, and it's like, wow. And people just like they gravitate to those things, to what he says, and the Bedlam at the bank. It's remarkable, and it's an absolute honor that anybody, to me, puts us in that category. I was very close with Harry. I sat with him on the planes. And we talked a lot when he was awake, including when we were on the runway in Philly and the thunderstorm. We were on our way to Colorado, or getting ready to go to Colorado, with thunderstorms at our place and in Colorado. And on the plane, we happened to run out of adult beverages.
Oh, gosh.
Sitting on the tarmac in Philadelphia. So meanwhile, Harry had gone to sleep next to the window. And for about an hour, we're still on the tarmac. He wakes up. He looks over at me. He called me breakdown. He says, looks over, he goes, pretty smooth so far, breakdown. I'm like, HK, we haven't left yet. What? And he lifts up the shade and realizes we are not in the air. We're still on the ground.
By the way, that's a very good Harry Kalas. Your impression was really good. Speaking of Harry, and you mentioned how Scott is able to come on after a tragedy. I mean, I heard, and actually I texted Scott after I heard this, because I thought it was so amazingly well done and compelling. He did this commentary after a school shooting, and sadly I don't remember which one, because there've been a lot of them. Right. But he did a commentary talking about his own kids, and it just blew me away. But you reminded me of when you guys went on the air the day that Harry Kalas passed away. It was like a 3:00 start in DC, and I remember that. I remember that vividly, because I was doing middays on the radio, 95.7 Ben FM. I was on the radio, and I was told during my shift that Harry Kalas died, and I had to go on the air. I don't know if I ever told you the story. I had to go on the air and announce it, and I told you how much I idolized this guy. I grew up in this town. I didn't know. I mean, I met him a couple times. I didn't know Harry Kalas, but I loved the man. And I couldn't get through it. I was breaking down on the air. And I'm driving home listening to you guys start the broadcast. And I don't know how you got through it. I mean, it was just unbelievable. Like you said, Scott Franzke, it's an awful event, and he just begins the broadcast perfectly. How did you guys get through that? Because I don't know if I could have done
it. I think Harry had a little to do with that, just pushing us through it. And, how would Harry be? What would Harry want? And having said that, it still didn't take away the pain, the hurt, all the words that you would put with a passing, and especially somebody like him, who I loved. Yeah. I was with him on the planes, sitting with him on the planes, going back to the mid '80s. And so I was always close with him, and to know that there wasn't going to be another Harry call. When I first started doing TV, and that's where I started, when I started in the broadcast and working with Harry, and it got to a couple of people early on would tell me, hey, you look like a deer in headlights. I think it was video. Dan Stevenson had said, hey, relax up there. You look like a deer in headlights. I'm like, but it's Harry, and I just want to listen.
Right.
I'm serious.
You're listening to Harry.
I don't want to he's talking. Let me just listen to Harry because that's what I like to do. So it was funny. It's like, but Harry was like, just be yourself, do what you want. All right, who cares? And then the shallow thoughts came in, and
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And they Mark Adams at Hog Island Press that has some Larry Andersen Shallow Thoughts T-shirts out. And
okay.
They're actually there's I think there's just 3 right now. I think one of them has You're Only Young Once, which can be immature forever on the back. Another one says, why do they sing Take Me Out to the Ball Game when they're already there? And the other one is, if a guy's a good fastball hitter, should I throw him a bat fastball? But we're working on it. We're doing some more talking about it. So, but it's fun stuff.
That's brilliant. That is brilliant. Yeah. Wow. What did Harry mean to you? Obviously, when you got into broadcasting, you're brand new to it. What advice did he give you? I mean, I know you said be yourself. Was there anything more than that?
Not really. He just and it's just be yourself. I thought I was being myself by shutting up and just letting him call the game, because that's what I wanted to hear. And I mean, it sounds funny, but it's like, especially if there's a big hit or something, and his call, he'd make the call. I catch myself sometimes not watching the play, but just looking at Harry as he's making the call. It's like, dude, there's a game going on out there. You might want to watch it. But he was that compelling. I mean, you could not watch him. Yeah, and you know what, Jason, one of the nicest people you'll ever meet. To everybody, he was open. He was inviting to anybody that wanted to come up to him, that wanted to talk to him. He would take the time, and he was so good with the people. And the other thing is his humor is very subtle. A lot of people, I don't think, understand or realize that the humor side of Harry. He was just. We were down here in Florida. Scott Graham was here, so it was like 05 or 06. Okay. And we were getting ready to set up our schedule. We were leaving the next day from Sandkey at Pickwick store. That's where we'd meet in the parking lot. And then we're going to drive down to Sarasota. So Scott Graham calls Harry, and Scott Graham told me, he said, Harry got a new phone. So I'm hesitant to leave a voicemail. I hope he answers. I don't have his number at his condo. And he'd gotten down there, just had a new phone. So he calls him, and he says, HK, Scott Graham here. He said, I just wanted to call and let you know that we're going to meet at the Pickwick at 8:45 tomorrow morning for the trip to Sarasota. And I hope you can get your voicemail. I know you got a new phone, so I just hope you can get your voicemail and get this message. Excuse me. 30 seconds later, Scott's phone rings. He puts it on speaker. Scott Graham, HK here. As a matter of fact, I do know how to get my voicemail. I just don't know how to answer this damn thing. He was not up there with the technology as I am not. So I don't know if that's a right sentence, but it is now. It was a struggle for Harry with the technology. You mentioned how nice he was to people just coming up to him, and you reminded me. So the first time I ever met Harry Kalas, all right? So picture this. It's like, I don't know, late 97, early 98. I'm on a date with the woman who eventually became my wife, all right? We're at Caesars in Atlantic City. We're going up an escalator. Who do I see coming down the other way but Harry Kalas, okay? And LA, I reverted back to being like the 10-year-old kid watching Phillies games who wanted to be a broadcaster. I'm like, oh my God, Harry, hey! And, I'm making a total fool of myself in front of this woman I'm trying to impress. Meantime, I'm making a fool of myself in front of this broadcasting icon. But he's like, hello, buddy, how are you? He was great. He was so cool. Good one. He is. That's great. I love that. He was so cool. Little kid, but he had that impression on people. Yeah, absolutely. I know there were people who he would record like their answering machine outgoing messages. Oh, yeah, unbelievable. So listen, I can't end this without asking you. We already talked 93.
but you're the only guy who played in the World Series for the Phillies in both 83 and 93. I think you had told me last time we talked, Dalton was actually, I guess, called up in 83, but he wasn't on the postseason roster. Is that what it was?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he didn't play in the World Series. You're the only guy who played in both. And you always tell me a funny story about when you came over from Seattle and you walked into the Phillies locker room, because they had some big names on that team. I mean, you had obviously Schmidt and Carlton. You had, the old Big Red Machine. And what was that like for you walking into a locker room with all these huge names in baseball?
Well, I think first you have to go back to when I was with Seattle, and Phillies bought my contract from Seattle. And when you said there were some really big names, I thought we had Bruce Bochy and Dave Edler and Paul Cerna and Dan Farova. Oh wait, but that's who I played with. Those, we did have a couple. We had Gaylord Perry. I played with him.
No kidding.
In Seattle, he got his 300th win on my birthday.
Wow.
Richie Zisk, who was a great hitter. I learned a lot from Richie about.
Oh, you want to hear this?
Yeah.
My first baseball glove. I don't know why my dad got this, but it was a Richie Zisk baseball glove.
Really?
Yes. I didn't know who Richie Zisk was at the time, but it was the name in my glove. But I'm sorry. Go ahead.
But I mean, those are the only two guys, and I was like, the other guys are just people hadn't heard of it. They didn't know Larry Andersen, didn't know Brian Clark, they didn't know, Dave Edler, Paul Cerna. So when the Phillies bought my contract, and I come to Philly, and I honestly. Jason, I rarely paid attention to National League. I mean, I love baseball, but I did not like the National League. They didn't have a DH. The pitcher had to hit. I thought it's a boring game. Boy, did my life change, and my views of that change when I got to the National League. But I come to Philly, and I walk in a clubhouse, and there's Steve Carlton, Mike Schmidt, Tony Perez, Joe Morgan, Pete Rose. Those are just the Hall of Famers.
Yeah.
Then my locker was next to Tug.
Wow.
I'm serious. When I walked in there and I saw those names and saw those guys, I'm like, what in the heck am I doing here? Did something get messed up or something? Am I the one that was really supposed to be? It was honestly, my head was. I was intimidated. I really was. But Tug really, he was a big help in alleviating that intimidation and just making me feel comfortable, and him joking around the way he does. And then you had Gary Maddox, you had Sarge, Sixto. Some of these players, great players. That it's like, wow, what a thrill that was.
Was it 83 when you got here, or was it 82?
Yeah.
It was 83?
83.
Because I had forgotten that Tug was on the team, because I remember Al Holland as the closer. What role did Tug have?
Tug was like a setup guy.
He was a setup guy, okay.
Yeah. And let's see. I think it was later that we traded to Colby for Al Holland, and Tug was already gone.
Wow,
so.
Forgot it. Yeah, Kent to Colby, yes.
Yeah, that was something.
You mentioned the DH. I got to ask you, what are your thoughts on the DH now in the National League? I
don't like it.
You don't like? Okay, why is that?
No, because there's no longer any strategy in the game. Mm-hmm. There isn't. There's, I actually said it to my father-in-law, who's down here now, and I was saying it's just things are different now. It's not the same. It's like there are certain rules they're doing. In baseball, to me, is trying to make players play the game the way they want to play. Now the new rule is you can't put a knee down in front of the bag as an infielder to block a guy sliding into the bag because they're worried about hand injuries. Yeah. Well, then stop sliding head first. If a guy does it, and somebody else is making. I think Ben Davis was making a point the other day, or maybe it was today. He's like, hey, if a guy puts his knee down in front of the bag, he's going to get that leg full of metal for my spikes. He said, not trying to hurt him, but I'm going to slide feet first. I'm not going to slide head first. He's going to put his knee down there. I'm going to bust a finger or something. So he'll stop doing it. If I'm on base, he'll know he won't be putting that knee down there. And I think the players can dictate how the game should be played. I don't think Major League Baseball should dictate how the game is played.
I totally agree with you. I cannot stand the rule about how you can only throw to first base twice. and then the third time it's a balk. I mean,
Right.
You figure, the Lou Brock, Ricky Henderson, how many steals would those guys have with those rules?
200
Right.
in a season. I mean, it's absurd. It is. But I mean, for me, it's hard because I've been in the game over 50 years and I'm so used to it one way, and now they're to me they're changing it somewhat drastically. And with what I was saying earlier without the DH, with the pitcher hitting, you had to decide: should I let the pitcher hit? Should I pinch hit? Who am I going to bring in?
Yeah.
There's none of that now. It's home runs, strikeouts, and walks. That's the concern of offenses anymore.
You know what? I mean, and I've gone back and forth. I used to hate the DH, but then you think back in the day when the Phillies brought up Ryan Howard, if they could have kept Jim Thome as the DH, how great would that have been?
Oh.
Harper was able to stay in the lineup because he was the DH, but then again, with the DH, you don't have the Blanton home run in the World Series. You don't have Rick Wise hitting 2 home runs and during his no-hitter. So I don't know. I kind of go back and forth on it, but I see arguments either way. But I guess I'm leaning toward what you say. You're right. It does take the strategy out of the game.
And I think there was back then you had to play some small ball at times. Now when was the last time you saw a team that go out there and just we're going to play small ball? Like, if they have a team built that can only do small ball, that's one thing. But you don't see teams that can do both. You don't see them playing small ball. You rarely see us trying to move runners, bunt them over. If there's and that '93 team, every guy that came to play, whether it was Dalton, Hollins, Crucky, whoever, in a situation, if they had a man on second, nobody out, they were going to hit that ball to the right side. They were going to get that to third with less than 2 outs. It was just going to happen. But I guess that's the state of the game, and it's I need to adjust.
Is it because of analytics, LA?
Yeah, I believe it is, and I'm not against analytics. I don't think it's the end all. I don't think everything has to be analytics.
Right. I agree.
I don't think baseball can be played with only analytics. But you anymore, you rarely see former players as coaches. You see a lot of analytical people. You see, that you see more of that than anything. And I don't think there's a major place for former players who played the game who have the experience, like a Larry Boa or Charlie Manuel in our instance. But it frustrates me, but it's not my decision to make.
Right. No, you gotta go with the times, I guess. By the way, how great is it to see Charlie Manuel at spring training?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
How's he doing?
I mean, he said it. He says this helps him. Just being around the guys, and it's a slow recovery.
Yeah.
It's a long recovery for him, but all things point to the fact that he's going to get a lot of everything back. And he'll get back to his own self. He's a little slower now,
right?
Movement-wise, which is understandable. But you'll see him walking across the field. He'll be at the batting cage. And you love to sit there and talk baseball with him because that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, he's a great man. Listen, I cannot let you go without asking you about Just LA. I see you got the hat on, and I got my T-shirt here.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
I
My daughter, we got one of the knit hats for my daughter, and my daughter is at work right now as I'm recording this, and I would attempt to go into her room and find the hat, but I don't have that kind of time. Her room's like it's like a disaster area. But it's such a cool thing, this line of T-shirts and hats that you have, and it all goes to a great cause. Talk about that.
Well, it's Transformation Recovery. It's through our church. And we have a 10-bed recovery house and in South Philly. And I talk to the guys all the time. I'm on Zoom with them generally every Friday night. I keep in touch with them. We go back and forth. And they've really inspired me. They've been a blessing to me because when I see what they've been through or hear their stories of what they've been through and where they're at now and how they've changed their lives around, it's encouraging, it's inspirational, and it's I think just a absolute joy. It's a joy to be around, but to see guys see lives being saved is the greatest thing. And we've got our annual fundraiser coming up in April, the end of April. I want to say the 27th. I hope I'm not in trouble, but if anybody wants to know about it, they can go to Transformation Recovery. They can Google it. It'll come up and they'll find out when the fundraiser is. Dickie Knowles is going to be our guest speaker.
Oh, nice.
Scott Palmer will MC it. And it's a really good time. And I think it opens up a lot of eyes for people that don't really know about it. And really, I think gives them an opportunity to help themselves.
Well, I love that. And you're doing great work with MLA, and the shirts are really cool too. On top of that, besides the fact that they actually help out a good cause, I mean, it's a cool shirt. So
it is.
All right, last thing. All right, and I got to ask you this. So I stumbled across, MLB Network has like those wacky countdown shows or whatever. The top 25 personalities in baseball history. You were only number 12, and it pisses me off. Why aren't you higher?
I was.
You should be higher.
7 at one point. I was at 7 at one point.
What, you dropped?
Well,
are you kidding me?
I dropped like a dead weight. I realized I dropped to 12. Oh, I'm crushed now.
That's not right, man. I wouldn't have brought it up. Because and they show that video. I guess what are you wearing? Like one of the cone head things, right?
The cone head.
Yeah. They always show that. I think they show you giving a hot foot to somebody, and then there's that story. And I heard you tell this on another podcast recently about the joke you played on your manager in Seattle, the Jello joke.
Oh
right?
yeah.
Or you put the well, tell that real quick, because I'm butchering it.
We got Richie Zisk, Joe Simpson, and myself. We're in Seattle. Renee Lashman was our manager. He went out. We were in Chicago. He went out to Rush Street. We got into Chicago. Lee Pellicudis, who ended up being the Seattle general manager, well, at the time, he was our traveling secretary. He got a key to Lashman's room. So Simpson, Zisk, and myself went and got 16 boxes of cherry Jello, got the key to his suite, went in and poured 8 boxes of Jello in each toilet, went and got buckets of ice, stirred it up. We took his mattress, put it in the shower. We put a chair in the shower. We pretty much dismantled the room as best we could. Toilet papered it, took the mouthpiece out of his phone, and he actually wasn't sure who did it, but he says, "I know it." He said, "I know Zisk. I know Zisk had something to do with it. If not, it's the other guy who just went to Chicago, Tom Pachora, Wimpy," and he accused Wimpy of doing it. Well, when we did it, we took the plug out of the radio, so he knew exactly what time, when he plugged it back in, what time we were there. So he called the Chork out in the field the next morning in batting practice, and he said, Wimpy, I know you were in on this. You know what's going on. I know you're in on it. And he goes, "Latch, I'm telling you, I heard about it. I had nothing to do with it." He said, and Latch says, "At 11 o'clock, where were you?" And he goes, "Latch, it wasn't me. I'm telling you, from 11 to 11:02, I was making love to my wife." I don't know if you can say that, but that's exactly what he said.
Hey man, it's a podcast. You can say whatever you want.
But we ran with that the whole year.
The whole year.
He got Jello, bowls of Jello put in his suite every road trip we went to. When he would get to his suite, there would be a bowl of Jello. Pellicudis did that, and then we were in Baltimore, and Dave Niehaus, the great announcer for Seattle at the time.
Yeah.
He told Latch, he goes, "Latch, I think I got it. I think I know who it is. I think I got it on my recorder," which was all set up. And Latch goes, "Give it to me." He said, "I can't. I need it for the pregame, and then I'll need it for the postgame. But as soon as the game's over, I'll come in." So we're out in the outfield, and Latch comes by, and he goes, "I'll bet you $100 I know who did it." He said, "I'll tell you after the game." I said, "Okay, we'll see." Well, so we know this is all going on. Well, Richie Zisk ends up being star of the game. So I told Richie before he went on the air after the game, I said, "Hey, make sure you tell Niehaus now when he comes in the clubhouse. He can't have that recorder anywhere near Latch. You can't get it." So as soon as the game's over, Niehaus comes in the clubhouse. I see him open the door, come in. I'm like saying to Latch, "Latch, where's my money?" Like you, and he goes, "Hey, Niehaus, come here." And Niehaus just shook his head to Latch like, I can't, I don't have it, Latch." And Latch unloaded with a number of expletives towards Niehaus. Those guys got to you. I'll put it that way. And he was so mad. So we go to New York. I had those headlines where you can make up headlines on newspapers.
Yeah.
I had about 10 newspapers made up headlines that said, Jello Gate tapes lost, Latch baffled, and posted them in a clubhouse in New York. And he got mad. But it came out in the team meeting at the end of the year. But it was fun.
So you told him? You eventually told him?
Yeah.
Okay.
We did like a What's My Line? Richie, Simpson, and myself each we got 3 paper bags from the grocery store and colored them to make them look like Jello boxes. And us 3 had them on our heads. And Latch couldn't see what players were missing. We made him turn the right way. So he had to guess. He didn't get it. But we finally came clean. That was good.
Oh, my gosh. LA, this is always so much fun. We got to do this more often. And listen, I haven't said this to you enough, but I appreciate you. Anytime I've asked you to come on, whether it was the TV show I did or whatever, you were always there. You're a damn good friend. I appreciate it, and I can't thank you enough for doing this, and I hope we can do it again soon.
But thanks for inviting me. I enjoy it. Love you and appreciate the time we have together. I really do.
All right, and here's to a good season for the Fightin' Phils.
Sounds good, Jason. Take care, my friend.
Thanks, LA. I appreciate it, bud.
You got it.
And thank you for tuning in to episode 9 of the Philly Sports Convo. We'll talk to you next time. Stay connected with us on social media. Join our Discord community and grab merch from our shop. The Philly Sports Convo is a Blue Eye Visual production.